Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Time Out with Dr. Caleb Stoppel. We'll be right back with Caleb, but first, let's hear from our podcast sponsors. We want to say thanks to Huddle for their support of Time Out. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. Over 200,000 teams, including some of the best in the world, use Huddle to help their teams play better using video and analytics. Huddle is the complete performance platform. Whether it's online tools or apps or smart cameras, Huddle has it all and more. Huddle is also built for every level of play, from club and youth teams all the way through high schools and colleges. And even the pros use Huddle to help their teams play at the highest level. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes. If you want to find out more about what Huddle can do for you and your program and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their experts. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. We also want to say thanks to Final Forms, the industry leader in registration. But Final Forms is more than just forms. Final Forms is a team, it's technology, and they provide schools with compliance, communication, and risk management solutions. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with things like mobile accessibility, and it has reminders for parents about policies, about physicals, and all the forms that come with having an athlete in the house. Final Forms can also help with team communication and attendance, and even certification management for coaches. And for athletic directors, Final Forms can help with eligibility, with rosters, and all the reports that come across your desk. And it does this with secure language translation and ADA compliance. You know, it's time for you to talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. To take the next steps and find out what Final Forms can do for you, go to finalforms.com/Jake. That's finalforms.com/Jake to get started with Final Forms. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Gipper is the way that athletic directors and schools create world-class marketing content for their school's social media channels. You can do this in seconds on any device and without needing any design experience. It's so simple, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com for more information and find out how your school can become a Gipper school. Tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD podcast. We also want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack allow you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also connects you with the 95% of the parents and the student athletes who really love your program. And it gives them a voice to help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Talk to the folks at Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive. Their indoor scoring tables and video boards can not only generate you money, but also create the ultimate game day experience for your athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and check out their indoor scoring tables and video boards. You can also call them at 832-786-0302 and see what these fantastic products can do for you. Shoot them an email at sales@sidelineinteractive.com for more information. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. And we want to say thanks to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They've got a variety of interactive touchscreen consoles and an entire library of templates to help recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. Let them help you showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, and go to vitalsignswalloffame.com or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com for more information. Remember, their mission is to help you bring your school's legacy to life. Vital Signs Wall of Fame.com. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Time Out with Caleb Stoppel. Dr. Caleb Stoppel is the District Athletic Director for the Wichita Public School System, longtime AD in the state of Kansas, and very active at the state and the national level. Every Tuesday, he shares his heart and his wisdom with us on Time Out, and we're back for another episode. So, Caleb, what do you have for us this week?
All right. Well, thanks, Jake. Great to see you. And thanks for tuning in to listeners out there. If you had the chance to check out last week's episode, we're focusing on transition. You know, as Jake's mentioned, and you probably learned last week, you know, I'm transitioning. My family and I are literally moving from the Kansas City area to the central part of the state in Wichita, Kansas. And so with that comes literally, you know, boxing up your house and putting it in a moving truck and, you know, making sure. Last week we focused on how we transition relationships from one organization to the other. But today we're going to focus back more on the professional lens, and we're going to talk about the exit strategy or that exit plan. So literally those boxes that, you know, one might need to check so that you're leaving your office, your organization, your responsibilities, you know, the athletic department, you know, you're leaving it in the best shape that you would want it to be left for the next person to pick up and continue the work that you've spent so much of your time and energy on over the history that you've been in that role. And so again, today we're going to talk about that exit plan specifically. So I think the first recommendation or the item that I would offer to you all is the concept that we want to leave everything as good as, if not better than we found it. And maybe, you know, when you've taken a position, you've heard that kind of comment about, well, yeah, you know, I just hope that I can leave it better than I found it. Well, that's true, right? We have so much pride in the work that we do as an athletic administrator that literally we need to be proud of our accomplishments. And we need to also, you know, hope that some of those, if not all of those items, can be sustained with the new leadership that's coming to replace you, while also knowing and I think respecting the idea that you're not going to be that person anymore. And so the new person coming in has obviously been entrusted and, you know, has been hired by those others in leadership that have been in charge with filling positions, that they've been hired to do the work that you've done. And at a certain point with this transition, you're not really involved anymore. You're the outgoing person. And that's not said or done in any disrespectful, unprofessional manner. But at some point, as the outgoing person, you need to understand and respect that there's a part of this transition that I'm out and the new person is in. But what is our role as the outgoing person, and how can we support the incoming person to the extent that the incoming person would want to be supported? And how do we navigate that delicate kind of transition? So the first item that I would throw out there to all listeners here is that we need to be very mindful, and almost to the tiptoeing perspective, okay, less aggressive, more strategic. We need to be very mindful of the incoming person and what their direction is. We need to remember that we are no longer in charge of this process. Up into including the new person may or may not be interested in a transition. Now, some organizations, and hopefully I would think many organizations top down in this process, are going to want to ask and support for a transition. Hey, new coming person, we'd like you to meet with the outgoing person and just kind of like, you know, do whatever work you need to do. Hopefully, you know, leadership above you is going to only want a healthy transition to occur. They are likely not to micromanage what that transition looks like. But above all, a transition should happen. But depending on the new person coming in, that will dictate a lot of the work that you will do. And I think it's important that we, as the outgoing person, respect the new individual, respect their needs, their ideas, their wants through this transition, because ultimately they are going to be in charge of how they're going to step into the role. Just like if you think about this reversed, as you are entering a new role, you are going to be hoping for and needing some of this kind of reflective respect and openness to be able to enter your job and not have all this micromanagement come crashing down, or, hey, this is how you better do it or else. You're going to want some freedom. You're going to want some flexibility to learn the new organization, learn your role, and then apply your own experiences and knowledge. So I think my first suggestion with this transition is to treat the incoming person as you want to be treated in your new role. And so that comes from a place of, maybe asking, how can you help? What information would you like to receive? What can I share about others that you will work with? And then truly being a little bit more of a listener than you are someone that just comes into the meeting and starts talking, and laying out all this information. We have to put it in the hands of the incoming person first. Okay. So point number one, be more of a listener than a teller to that incoming person. Okay. Second kind of point I'd like to make with this is it is going to be possible though, and really important to have a plan. Okay. In the last episode, we talked about, part of that relational exit plan and kind of guarding your time and who are you going to meet with, who are you not going to meet and spend time with. Well, same process applies here. I think it's going to be important for you to have too much planned. Okay. Because again, we're at the mercy of the incoming person. And so what questions are they or aren't they going to have? What people are they interested in meeting and not maybe right away? But I think it's important for us as the outgoing individual to have that stuff ready to go. Have some of those notes, bullet pointed things down as you are reflecting and processing, boy, who do I wish I would have met when I first took this job so many years ago? What do I wish I would have done differently? And make note of that. Be ready to share and even overshare on reflective items that you wish you could have known way back when, and have that information ready to the extent that when you do then meet with the new individual and you seek to understand what they would need from you first, instead of just handing everything to them with a bow on top, you can wait to see what they may want and say, oh, actually, hey, that's a great question. Here you go. I got some notes on that. And let's go through these notes because I've already prepared this for you. And wow, are they going to be excited and appreciative of that? And then maybe there's some stuff that they haven't asked questions about that you can say, hey, you know what? Take or leave this. I say that a lot. Take this or leave it, and you're not going to offend me. If you want, I put some notes on this other stuff you didn't really ask questions about, but you know what? Hey, totally chuck it and throw it away if you don't want it, because you know what? I'm good either way, but I have prepared it for you. And so it is available if they want to. And so again, we're talking about making some of these plans ready for them. Okay. Along some of those things, here's a couple specific ideas that if you're thinking about, well, gosh, there's so much stuff from my past 10 years in this position. How do I ever go about bullet pointing that? Or there's tons of notebooks and all this. Well, start simple. And again, go back to those first couple of weeks on the job, maybe the first day on the job. Maybe you had a great transition yourself. Maybe you had a horrible transition. Maybe the person that you replaced left nothing for you and you had to scramble on the ground running to figure stuff out. Okay, we all have a different experience of how we landed into this, but start at the beginning and think about what you would have wanted back then, or maybe what you did get from that person you're replacing, and do your best to provide that to the new person. All right. The last piece, oh, actually, before we move on from that, what that could look like also is obviously electronic files. So whether you're using something like Dropbox, Google Drive, maybe you have just a network on your district's, network system, go through that and put some of those files on a thumb drive or share electronically through Google Drive, have that ready, because there's nothing that is more welcomed than not having to recreate the wheel. Think about all those templates that you've made. Think about all those event management information packets, and being the newcomer with likely some AD experience, but maybe you're a brand new AD and have nothing. How awesome is it going to be to have someone that says, well, hey, don't recreate the wheel. Okay, right? We talk about that a lot. Don't recreate the wheel. I have all this stuff over 10 plus years or 5 years, whatever. And that new AD is going to love that, because they can still operate on their own autonomy. They can still put their own spin to it, but they don't have to start from literally a blank document, which is a little bit more harder than not. And so we can help that way. So obviously there's electronic files that you can share. Okay. And then obviously be thinking about what you've collected in your office over the years, notebooks, paper files. I don't think, even though we try to go paperless, there's always going to be forms and always going to have to be papers. I don't know about you guys, but in my office, I separated every single sport that I oversaw in a big old 3-inch binder, because there's always going to be paper stuff that is associated with a sport that I want to keep, and I want to keep that example of. And so as I'm transitioning, one of the big physical things that I'm leaving for the incomer is a whole bunch of those notebooks. And I'm leaving it up to that person to go through at their own will and time to, again, either keep it or pitch it, but it's past information that they can take advantage of if they so choose. And I hope that it helps, which is why I've kept it for them. And then the third piece of what is it that I try to give this new person? What do I need to share with them? The other piece is just really strategic information on maybe who that incoming person needs to meet with, and the timely factor of, okay, who are the first individuals that I need to meet as the incomer when I set foot in the school, or the district? Who are, maybe those office personnel that help assist the athletic director, whether it's other administrators, whether it's an administrative assistant? Who are those initial key people? And then obviously, as an athletic administrator, we're serving the coaches. And so hopefully one of those questions is, well, yeah, I want to get to know those coaches as soon as possible as the incoming AD. And so as the current or outgoing AD, can you tell me a little bit about those coaches? Can you talk me through? Can you give me a little bit historical context on your coaches? We would hope that that's a question or an interest of the incomer. But again, we can help kind of lead with that and say, hey, here's what I prepared for you. It's a list of all of our coaches, a little bit of their experience, where they've come, how many years they've been at the school. Wow, how helpful will that be as the incomer? Okay, finally, I want to mention this as well. Remember that, again, we are not in control of this transition as the outgoing person. We are very helpful. We are, very instrumental. We're the keeper of the knowledge right now, right? We're the ones that have been there for 10 years or whatever. However, we're not in the driver's seat when it comes to the transition, because we have to respect and value the interests and the decisions of the incomer. And they may be very receptive of information. They may say, hey, appreciate it. Whatever notes you have, that'd be great, but I got it. The incoming AD may have done this job for decades longer than myself. And they say, hey, yeah, I'll appreciate this, but actually I've been doing this for 35 years. This is not my first rodeo. And we say, hey, I totally get that. Good luck. You're going to do great. And hey, by the way, here's my email address and my cell phone number. Call me anytime. And so again, I just want to impress upon you all that we have to be very mindful to respect the incoming person, because I know that that will do best to develop a positive, outgoing relationship, that you both will have a connection of being a part of this school, that organization. You will always be the AD at that place, no matter how many people come before or after you. And so how great would it be to leave that in a positive manner by respecting that individual's needs and just saying, hey, I'm here to help, but also good luck.
Yeah, again, as I was listening to you share all of this, it just took me back to the times that I've changed positions. I remember my very first head football job. I came in, and the previous coach was moving out of state, going to another position, but walked me through the gym, the office, the equipment room, et cetera. It was just a very nice, get to know the school and the facility plant. And then my first job as an AD was actually at a startup school. So there was no history. And so I was able to come in and kind of do things on my own, but based on, the mentors and the leaders that I had been exposed to. Really, really good stuff. Okay. Just a real quick, question. You're starting your new position. Is your successor? Have you had a chance to walk them through, or are they on board yet?
So I have a unique kind of scenario within all of this, because my successor is actually an administrator that I've worked with on the team at the high school I've been at. That individual is moving over from a role of assistant principal, who's overseeing things like curriculum and instruction, assessment, and some other things. And now that individual has shown interest and is taking over now the athletic duties and trading in some of those other duties that he had. And so fortunately, it's been a very healthy, very smooth transition, because this individual knows the dynamics of the school. They know the dynamics of the administrative team that they're still a part of. And he and I have worked together for many years now. And so he's seen how things have operated. And he and I have had several conversations just in passing of just my transition from when I took over. And so the things that I've done maybe a little bit differently than they happened before I took over. And I'm sure he'll have some ideas for some things that he'll want to do differently. So fortunately, I feel really lucky that we've been able to have a very natural conversation and transition. However, there's still necessary things that that I've offered and he's been receptive to, because there's a lot of intricate X's and O's, if I will, of the AD job. A lot of paperwork, right? A lot of forms, learning the state and local and league policies and procedures. And if one has not been privy to or has experience operating within those kind of components, then they're probably going to need exposure to that for the first time. And so that's been a main emphasis for our conversations. And we've had a couple transition meetings where he's just asked a lot of questions about, well, okay, yeah, tell me about some of these policies and procedures that our teams, our coaches, our athletes are expected to abide by, because I'm going to need to catch up to that conversation, but he doesn't have to catch up to the organizational conversation.
Yeah, there's only so much that you can cover, but at least having that resource there that they can refer to down the road certainly helps. As always, great stuff. If one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain a little bit more, what's the best way they can get in touch with Dr. Caleb Stoppel?
Yeah, I love that. I love when people reach out. I love to continue the dialogue however we can. First way would be via email. My email address is kstoppel@usd259.net. Another great way is to connect with me on social media, on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Dr. Caleb, Kaleb Stoppel, Stoppel, at Dr. Caleb Stoppel. Would love to connect with you.
Dr. Caleb Stoppel, thanks so much for being with us on Time Out, and we will see you next week.
All right. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
For listeners, remember we do this every week, and the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews get uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in today. We'll see you next time on Time Out and just about every day on the Educational AD Podcast. Have a great day. Once again, we couldn't do this without our sponsors. Sideline Interactives, indoor scoring tables and video boards. They'll raise your program money and create the ultimate game day experience. Get in touch with them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. See what their fantastic products can do for you. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. Also want to thank Huddle. At Huddle, we power sports. As a football coach, I used Huddle. As an athletic director, our school was a Huddle school. All of our programs use the video and analytics. You really can't go wrong. Go to huddle.com and talk to their experts about how your school can become a Huddle school. Also want to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I never got a chance to use Hometown Ticketing as I retired just as online ticketing was coming into vogue, but I have enough friends that are still in the profession that swear by Hometown Ticketing's product and by their customer service. Go to hometownticketing.com and talk to their experts. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. Also want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. Remember, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. Our state association, the FIAAA, has a Wall of Fame console for our organization's Hall of Fame, and it is really cool. Let Wall of Fame by Vital Signs help you showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com, or you can email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com for more information. Also want to thank our newest sponsor, Gipper. Gipper allows athletic directors, coaches, and schools to create custom branded content for their school's social media platforms. It is so easy to use that even I can use it. Go to Gipper.com, tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast, and they'll give you a great deal. Also want to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. They sponsor the Athletic Director Toolbox segment of our podcast, and they allow you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. Send them an email at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started, and let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. And finally, we want to say thanks to Final Forms, the industry leader in registration. Final Forms can help your stakeholders with reminders for parents, that can help you with team communication and attendance and coaches certification management. Can also help with eligibility rosters and all the reports that come across your desk. Talk to a team that's walked in your shoes. Go to finalforms.com/Jake for more information. That's finalforms.com/Jake to become a member of the Final Forms team. As always, we appreciate you tuning in to Time Out with Dr. Caleb Stoppel and our other regular features, including the interviews on the Educational AD Podcast. Have a great day. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.